behalf of Chairman Inhofe, Senator Hawley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the witnesses for being here. Thank you for your work, your diligent work on this important proposal, on this important topic. You've nearly made it to the end here. So just 6 minutes to go. I want to ask you about a few specific challenges. We talked a lot this morning about the space domain, the importance of the space domain in general. Let me ask you about some of the challenges, as I understand them, that make the space domain important, and you can tell me if my understanding needs revision. One of the major issues, as I understand it, that makes space so important is our global C4ISR architecture that runs through space, sort of the central nervous system of the joint force. We were able to build that central nervous system in and through space in years past because it was largely uncontested space. But now, as you've said over and over today, it's contested, it's congested, it's competitive. And so our C4ISR and precision navigation timing networks are at risk. So what I want to ask you is, what are we doing to make our global C4ISR networks and our PNT networks more resilient and survivable? And how does the Space Force, how will a Space Force contribute to that? Absolutely, go ahead, General.
So, Senator, I think you described the space challenge quite well. I think we have a significant element of everything that we do that goes through space. There's not a single military operation that exists on this planet that doesn't involve space some way, and the C4 network that we operate leverages space, especially because we operate away from our homeland. We operate overseas, and when you do that, you need to bring your communications, bring your ISR, bring all those capabilities with you, and a significant amount of those capabilities today come from space. And so as we look to the future, we have to make sure we protect that, and we defend that, and we can still provide those capabilities. And our adversaries have seen that too, and as they've seen that, they're developing capabilities to counter those. So we have to adjust. We have to be able to build different architectures that we can fight with more effectively, that can guarantee that capability is always there. We have to build the ability to defend ourselves and the ability to deny an adversary the use of space at a time and place of our choosing if we have to. As the Secretary discussed earlier, we don't want conflict to go into space, but if it does, we have to.
And in this setting, General, can you give us some idea about what are some of the steps that we are taking now or that need to be taken to make that infrastructure, that C4 infrastructure, architecture, and our PNT architecture more resilient? I mean, what I'm driving at is, I think you could see is, what are the specific things we need to be doing to meet this very pressing challenge, and then how does that tie into this large structural change that you've been proposing here today?
So the Secretary described one of the big changes is the integration of satellite communications in one place. As we move to a Space Command and a Space Force, the benefits that we'll get from that unity of effort will be we'll have one command focused on operating satellite communications, and we'll have one force looking at acquiring the capabilities we need to. And the integration of those two capabilities will allow us to better defend ourselves and operate in the future. You can apply that to position, navigation, and timing. You can apply that to overhead weather, missile warning. All the capabilities we have, you apply that same concept. And we can talk in a classified session about the specifics of what we're doing, but in broad terms, that's the structure.
Madam Secretary, you wanted to add to this?
Senator, before the fiscal year 19 budget that we brought up before your election, we did some work on what should our strategies be and how do we shift our programs to implement those strategies. And we did a tabletop exercise with many of the members of the committee to show what the strategies were in the program shifts. Those strategies really kind of revolve around 5 things in general. The first is to protect and defend. So defend our satellites, think chaff and flares, but other kinds of things. And it's different mission by mission. Second, be able to stop an attack. It's not good enough to stand in the ring and dodge and weave and take punches. You need to be able to swing back. Third, proliferate. Now, proliferation alone does not solve the problem, but it does complicate the problem for an adversary. Fourth, undermine the confidence of the adversary that they really understand what's going on around them. And fifth, all of this rests on a foundation of excellence in our people. So those are the 5 lines of effort, and they're all supported by programs and programmatic change that was supported by the committee in the FY19 budget.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I think that, my set of questions around your proposal for this major structural change for the standing up of a Space Force relates to this line of questioning. I mean, what are the specific pressing challenges we face in that domain, and will this new structure help us meet those specific challenges? Or is there a danger that we're too focused on the domain as a domain and we're not focusing enough on the specific challenges? Mr. Secretary, before my time expires, let me just ask you a somewhat related question. The relevance of AI and new technologies. You touched on this briefly, I think, with Senator Kramer, but tell us something about how Space Force may help the Joint Force continue to develop the new technologies, whether it's AI or otherwise, that we need to be leaders here in the 21st century.
Right, so the Space Development Agency, in our modernization for the National Defense Strategy, addresses building an integrated transport layer for the Department of Defense so that we can ingest and move significant volumes of data that facilitate artificial intelligence. It's this build out of the broader infrastructure. It also includes the ground network that'll connect sensor and shooter and then all other decision makers. It's not just about closing the fire control loop, but we're trying to scale and address latency. And this is the need, this is why we need fundamental systems engineering as we approach this problem set.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.